You see very clearly there and on the sidelines of SCO, Prime Minister Modi, part of it. It's a multilateral summit, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a Eurasian political, economic and international security organization. So 10 member states who are part of it, and India, China, Russia among them. Modi holding that very key bilateral meet with Xi Jinping. In fact, the host country, Xi and Modi meeting after 7 years. 1 year ago, they met in Russia, and that's when it appeared that talks between the two countries began. A year later, Prime Minister Modi has already attended this meet, marking a huge progress between India and China relations. And the whole red carpet that was rolled out for Prime Minister Modi's arrival was in itself establishing how China is keen on making amends with India on both sides. They both need each other at a time when Trump has imposed steep tariffs on both countries, India more. Prime Minister Modi, among several world leaders there, who's currently in northern China's Tianjin as part of the SCO summit. We're looking at a bilateral meet of nearly 40 minutes. It's over, I sense, considering these are live visuals coming in from Tianjin. Let me quickly bring in Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, former Secretary of the MEA, joining us. He served in China. In fact, we also have Ambassador Anil Trigunyat, former Deputy Chief of Mission in the rank of Ambassador in Embassy of India, Moscow. Thanks very much for joining us, sir. We also have Dr. Manjari Singh, Assistant Professor, Amity Institute of International Studies. Let me first begin with Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, who's also served in China. Ambassador, this is a big meeting today. India-China meet is certainly grabbing headlines the world over, considering the two neighbors were bitter all this while because China violating border protocols. Finally, they've come together after a little nudge from Trump. And Trump may not have expected this unity between the two. And not just China and India, we're also looking at Russia in the mix. So India, China, Russia coming together on one platform is certainly sending a lot of tension across the West. Trump is not liking this.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. It's a historic meeting, to be quite frank. I see this in a slightly different perspective. I see this as a continuation of the dialogue that Prime Minister Modi had with President Xi Jinping in Kazan, where the two sides had decided that we would try and establish a relationship that is mutually beneficial. And we would certainly look at the very key issue of the border transgressions, of the violations of the protocols and agreements between us that were done by Chinese, and also look at the broader context of the relations, including economic ties, collaboration on multilateral fora, and so on. And I think what has happened since Kazan is a very reassuring sentiment, because on the directions of the two leaders, there have been several high-level meetings of the defense minister, of the foreign ministers, and of course, finally, the special representatives met. And a lot of groundwork for this has been done at the official level, at the WMCC, the working mechanism, and we've had a lot of progress. So today's meeting, I would see more in that context of India and China seeing the complementarities of a relationship in building the Asian century. You just saw Prime Minister come in from Tokyo, which is another very principal partner of ours. You mentioned the thing about Trump, and I do think there is an importance of that as well, because what the United States has been doing in terms of its tariff action is not justified. It is something that is out of sync with the way the world needs to move at such a critical time. But they have to make those corrections themselves. I do not think India is moving in response to Trump. It may be a factor, but it is certainly not a reaction.
Interesting to note, and well, yes, you're right. In Kazan, Prime Minister Modi has met with Xi. There was already talk, and informal invite for SCO had already gone out at that time. Now, with the foreign minister of China, Wang Yi, coming into India weeks ago, a formal invitation followed. Prime Minister Modi has accepted it. So less to do with Trump, more to do with India's autonomy on dealing with China, on establishing trade relations. It just so happens that Trump has imposed 50% tariffs, and India also at this point looking keenly on establishing new avenues to push our supply chain. Could China really be the place India could really push our products? Sir, you've served in China. Would you be able to give us the verticals in terms of business where India, China can really explore and grow? Because largely we are importing from China, exporting less. We have a 94 billion trade deficit with China. How do you make that surplus?
I think it will require a lot of effort to make it a surplus, but I think we should certainly look towards greater balance. And that greater balance will happen on two fronts. The first is that there has to be certain understanding on the Chinese side that the kind of technical barriers or other inhibitions to market access that is present in China today needs to be addressed. There is, of course, the case that not a single Indian IT company does any major project in China. And given the kind of structure that they have, there is great potential. That is one particular area. The second potential area in which India can make great progress is in pharmaceuticals, because we still have a great advantage in terms of generics. China also produces a large number of APIs, and there is a mutual complementarity that can be explored. And there are various other products on the industrial side. We already have an increasing share in our trade basket of what we call intermediate products. In other words, products that go from India, probably get some processing in China, then they come back. A lot of it is in the electronics and light machinery industry sector. What we also need at the same time is that China needs to be much more cognizant and aware of the kind of development path that India has adopted. And that means that there has to be much more investments of Chinese side in India. The Chinese investments in India are actually rather small compared to the size of economy that they have. And what we do expect is that there can be, and we've recently made concessions that we are willing to have up to 24% foreign investment from China. And that is actually like an opening gambit. And we can see how this can progress, because once there is more investment in India, that will start building the kind of supply chains that are necessary. I wanted to emphasize once again that India is actually a major power, and China needs to understand that particular reality. India is not a regional power. India is not something that is confined to South Asia. And once that recognition is possible on the Chinese side, there will be a better understanding on how our economics can be structured, how both of us can collaborate, we can diversify our baskets, and we can work together towards having a greater presence in the global markets.
Anil, give us a sense on this meeting, the bilateral meet that's currently underway. We're not too sure if it's over already, but these are the images coming in. Would you be able to establish for us if this video we see on our screens here of a whole host of people seated around that round table, along with Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi, is that 40-minute bilateral talk, or was there a separate chat inside closed doors?
This is indeed the bilateral meeting, as you can see. Live pictures, and of course, normally they would have met in Beijing, where the format is slightly different and the venue and the backdrops are different. But this is obviously done in Tianjin, so it's a different venue, which India and China have not used for a bilateral context before. But this is definitely that one. If you look at the kind of people who are sitting on either side of the table, so there's Prime Minister Modi on one side, President Xi Jinping on the other. Prime Minister Modi is accompanied by the Indian.
All right. We're going to try and fix this connection. Ambassador Anil, please do step in, sir, on this bilateral meet that's just about come in, visuals of which has come in. We believe it's still underway. Live images of Prime Minister Modi making his point there. We hear, we see both those leaders talk. We can't really hear them. There's no audio yet, so we're not too sure what's spoken in this bilateral meet. But not a closed-door meet. You have a lot of officials there seated around. A very important meeting here today. All that is said will be etched in paper as well. So very important meet between the two countries. What is likely to have been spoken there?
Well, I think that, as Ambassador Bhattacharya also mentioned, this is a very, very important meeting following the Kazan summit that happened. And I believe that both sides are very keen to ease out the relationship, to find the requisite trust, which has been missing in the relationship since Galwan especially, and try to resolve the outstanding issues, which was seen after the visit of Wang Yi when he came here. The two working groups have been set up to resolve the border dispute or start working on that. So I think that today China very smartly has used this SCO summit essentially to give the bilateral twist to our relationship, taking it to a different level from a very highly negative one to considerably positive, I would say, at the moment. But since we have been hurt once, twice, we would need to be very cautious.